So I want to talk to you two guys over here, Logan and Mihn. So first off, I want to say we're gonna do this today's class. We're staying with the immigration issue, and we're gonna carry it over into Thursday's class. And the thing for me is that it's really fascinating. First off, and if you're as you're listening. What you should be listening for would be imagining that you're Logan and Mihn. And at the end of all of this, you've heard lots of different things. You're taking notes. Imagine that you're a policymaker. You guys, you're policymakers, right? And, let's complicate it. Let's imagine that you're a Democrat and you're a Republican in the United States. So which means that anything that really makes him look good makes you look bad, and anything that makes him look good makes you look bad. So you're friends because you're both acting on behalf of the United States and the citizens of the United States, and yet you're enemies. So you're frenemies, as we say, because you can't really show unanimous support for even the best possible thing that we could do. That you would imagine that you could say, like, listen, we listen to what's been talked about in class, and we think that these are the most important things. Even if you think that, if it makes him look good in some way, like, you can't say it. You can't vote for it because it's going to elevate him, and that's going to lower you. And this is this world of politics that we live in that you all are going to be part of. But the idea here is you're listening to all these, and so what I want you all to be thinking about, okay? Because this is college, what we're doing here is thinking. I'm not telling you how to think. I'm not telling you what we should do with immigration. I'm not even telling you what the good and the bad of different policies. I mean, I'm not telling you which I think is good and which I think is bad. I'm telling you all of the complications of having to make a decision. So if you think about how complex it is right now, what do we do with all these immigrants who are here, who are not here, people who want to come in? What should we do and how should we think about it? Man, you want to see how incredibly complicated it is, because this is why we're in college. I mean, this is why we're here, to be complicated. The best possible... Dude, talk to me after class, okay? Right? Good. Okay. Dude, I got a salute. Hey, nice. All right. So, the best thing that you could do at the end, first, certainly of every class in Social 19, but definitely in these classes, the best thing that could happen is you leave here more confused about immigration, more confused than when you came in, and you leave here saying to yourself, I have no idea what the answer is and what the solution is. Because you don't, and I don't. But having no idea, knowing that you don't know, is what makes you smarter. And you want to be smarter. You always want to be smarter. Every day you leave this room, you want to feel more confused. Because thinking that you're more confused means that you're actually smarter. Okay? So that's where we're at. So look, don't hang on, some people are looking down at their phones right now. So look at me, right? You really want to focus in, especially today, because you're going to just hear some very, very interesting things and complicated things. So gentlemen, you two, just know that at the end of all of this, you're going to have to just lay out what the most important things are. And if you were to write the immigration policy, these are the things that you would have in it. But of course, you're going to have to do it being frenemies, okay? Which kind of, by the way, I'm not sure, people in a very kind of pithy way is like, this is the greatest country in the world, or we have the best political system in the world, or the best whatever. And I don't know, man. I don't know about that. When I think about how these things operate, But that's your job to consider that. Let me just ask you a question. From the class the other day, did you feel like you left with some kind of a clear understanding of something, anything?
No, it got harder. Before class and at the end of class, our challenge seems to have gotten a lot more difficult.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mihn, how about you, man?
For me, I got some ideas out of that, but I kind of want to know more about like these difficulties, as in like other aspects alongside with immigrating.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right. Hey, all right, so let's go. Savannah, you're on. All right, introduce yourself.
I'm Savannah. I'm a second-year communication science and disorders major, and I'm from Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. All right. So, do you follow the immigration issues at all, or do you?
Like I've seen like stuff on like the internet and like TikTok and like all of that, but like I don't like read articles about it.
How about how about in your hometown or whatever? Is it an issue there?
In my hometown,
Yeah.
No.
Uh-huh.
But like in Boston it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like 20 minutes from Boston.
Okay. All right. Well, here, let's put up the first slide. So this is the slide that I had up earlier, right? So generally what we see that in the middle, immigration, right? And it seems like, okay, here, these are the issues. So now you and I, we're going to go to the next slide. We did these two, okay? Let's go to the third. We're going to do birth rates today.
Okay.
So what do you know about birth rates right now in the world?
I know that they're obviously increasing, and I know in some countries it's like becoming a problem.
Because they're increasing?
Yeah.
Actually, they're decreasing.
Oh.
Yeah? No,
Wait.
hang on. Your whole life,
Right.
you've been learning. First off, when I was your age, there were two major issues in the world. One was the expansion of nuclear weapons and the potential for nuclear war, and the second was overpopulation. Like just fundamental issues, okay? And that's been the case for you growing up.
Wait, I was gonna say isn't there like a place where like they're like paying people to have kids?
Yeah,
Okay.
okay, right, exactly. Because it's decreasing,
Right.
okay, in so many areas of the world. So what's the problem with that? When the birth rate rapidly declines, what do you think the problem is?
Like obviously like less people in the world, and that
Okay, and why is that an issue?
like the up and coming generation won't be able to like take over what like the current generation's doing.
Ah, yeah, okay. Like, do you have any, exactly, that's it. Well, like,
Okay.
do you have examples of that?
Like I don't know, like current jobs, like if there isn't as many people to like take over like being like a doctor or like a teacher, then like it's gonna become less and less.
Healthcare workers.
Yeah.
Work and skilled, what about unskilled labor? Just skilled labor, or what about unskilled?
Oh, I guess unskilled labor too, yeah.
Uh-huh. So, like, think about, let's say I end up, or, your parents end up in assisted living somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
Who's gonna, and they need help. Who's gonna help them?
Well, I guess if the birth rate decreases, I guess not really a lot of people.
Well, they'll move in with you.
Right.
We won't have assisted living places because we don't have people
Yeah.
to do the work that needs to
Yeah.
happen. So they'll move in with you,
Mm-hmm.
which is fine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I took care of my mom. I did all of, my mom at the beginning of my life was, God. This is one of these moments when I'm like, I know what I want to say, but I stop myself and I think, oh God, am I going to get in trouble for this? And then I don't say it. So it's one of those moments. My mom was wiping my rear end and taking care of me, and at the end of her life, I was doing the same for her. I'll never forget one time bending over my mom. We were and going like, "Damn, Ma, how crazy is this? That 50 years ago you were doing this to me, and now I'm doing it to her. To you. You know what I mean?" And we both laughed, and we're like, "Yeah, well, okay." So listen, man. That's just one thing. But you have all the entire economy is built on this. So can you go to the next slide? So my wife and I were part of this aired in December, but we filmed this past year. We filmed a 3-part documentary on Korean television on the falling birth rate in Korea and the crisis, the coming global crisis. It's not just the birth rates are falling. It's that it's such an issue that countries around the world are saying, we're in a deep crisis. Like you need, for example, 2.1, every childbearing, every woman in a society, everybody, has to have 2.1 children. So that means if you decide to not have children, do you have a sister?
I do, yeah.
Okay, so your sister has to have 4.2. Got it? You don't want to have any kids, so she's got to have 4.2. You spread that around, right? Well, let's say you both don't want to have kids. Well, then somebody else has to have 6. And that's how a society reproduces itself. And when you have less than that, how are you going to reproduce when birth rate's going to go down? How are you going to reproduce society?
You don't?
Well, no, there's a way.
Oh. Have other people have more kids?
Or pay people to have kids. But let's say people don't want to have kids. Where are we in the United States going to get more people that we need to avert the coming global crisis?
I'm assuming immigrants.
Yeah, everybody's going to be fighting for immigrants. This is the irony. The only place in the world where the birth rate is holding steady and actually slightly increasing is in sub-Saharan Africa, which is ironic that the modern world, the world of the 21st century, will return to Africa, but in a very different way. Asking Africans, inviting Africans to come into their nations, to say, listen, you got plenty of workers here. You need to come to our country, come to our nation, this is crazy. Yeah. I mean, it's really interesting to think about, okay? Okay, so immigration. Well, we discovered, and so what we did, that if you see in that photo, that's the at the very bottom, you see my wife and I. See that photo? That's us, right? Okay, so anyway, what we did was we spent weeks going all over Korea, talking with people about why they're not having kids. Because the Korean government and Korean businesses and Korean corporations are saying, we got to get our birth rate up. Man, this is because in Korea, the birth rate is 0.7. It's gone up a little bit, maybe to 0.8, because they're begging people to have kids. 0.7, man.
Yeah.
7's like you're in Shitsville, right? It's a crisis. Okay, so now everyone's fighting over immigrants. So how is that to think that, oh wait, hang on, I never thought about this in immigration.
I mean, I've never had the fact that people, personally, I've gone back and forth about having kids, because why would I want to bring a child up into the world that it is now? And so I feel that's an influence of people of why not?
Dude, what's wrong with the world now, by the way?
I don't know, just global warming and I have I don't know. It's just a back and forth of just wondering if I should or not.
Okay, because here you are in college, your life's just beginning. You're thinking oh my God, this is awesome. I'm here at Penn State, having a good time. Mom and Dad, I'm studying every single day. Never go out on the weekends, right? You don't party. And it's cool. Life's just beginning. So that's a lot of people. The world's changing, and many people, women and men both, all over the world are going yeah, I'm not sure I want to have kids.
They're also really expensive.
Very expensive. That's an issue that Koreans talked about. It's very expensive in Korea. So, okay. So now, how many people does a country need in order to thrive? How many people? Really? How do you decide that?
I guess just how many, how many people you need to have jobs in order to sustain the nation, and each different individual parts of like a nation and how it works and like what would get it to keep going and keep running.
Okay, so you find like a certain steady state.
Yeah.
And when you start to dip below that steady state, you go out and you get people. Do you ever want like think about that like here? That like years ago, we could have closed the borders down. We easily could have. You wonder like why are the borders open in Mexico? You know, with Mexico, like why? You ever wonder like why didn't we just close them down? Man, we could have built a fence. Donald Trump isn't. I know some of you Trump people want to see Donald Trump as a genius. He's not really a genius to be talking about building a fence with Mexico. He's not the first one either. But why do you think we haven't built a fence?
Because we like, I guess since the birth rate's going down, we need more people to come in and do.
Well, back in the day, it wasn't going down.
Right. Okay.
But we still, what do you think we like wanted immigrants?
Like probably.
Okay.
I guess like to do like specific like positions and jobs within the nation that like other people didn't want to do.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
That's true all over the world, right? So clearly people must have been coming in and doing things that other people didn't want to do. If they weren't, then we would have built the fence a long time ago. But we didn't. And so it makes you wonder, everybody's moving and shaking and making immigration as an issue that you're kind of opening the valve up and closing it. And so the number of people that we need in order to thrive is whatever it is. But the point is you open and close the valve.
Right.
So if you were running the world right now, if you were running the United States, you'd be thinking about this. How much would this issue come into play for you?
Like birth rate?
Yep.
I feel like it'd be like a big issue because if there's not enough people to do certain jobs or like get the world to work or the nation to work, then that's an issue.
Would seem like it.
Right.
And educated, right? You don't want to go work picking oranges in Florida, right? I mean, that might be the only job you have available to you, but you don't want to do that.
No.
Okay. Do you know anyone that wants to do that?
Like personally, no.
Yeah.
No. I mean, like all my friends are in college, so they're getting a college education. So like putting forth all that money, they probably want a job that would give back that money.
So here, let me ask you this question. I'm not making an argument for this, but imagine that you were here without documentation. Yeah? And so you're like, okay, my main goal is to not get picked up by ICE or Migra or something, right? What job do you think you would take? What job would you want?
A job that just like can get me whatever money I need to survive.
So as much as you can make. Would you be picky about what you do? How picky would you be about what you do?
Like not really picky.
Because
like I feel like with a high profile job, then that would be raising some red flags and you were just trying to like live and survive.
Or you just got to do anything.
Right.
So this is, of course, one of the issues, right? We talked about this last class about the problem with migrants can undercut the wages of legalized citizens, right? Because you come up and like I'm gonna do a job less than you're gonna do it, so I'm gonna be desirable in a certain sense, right? Yeah. I don't know. Do you have any questions about the birth rate issue?
Like, is it continuously going lower?
Yep.
It is.
Because of people like you, Savannah. Because of people like you.
Yeah. I feel like my generation, like, no one's really wanting. I mean, that could be wrong, but, like, from what I've seen, like, a lot of people don't really want kids.
Yeah, well, and some of them will change their mind when they hit their 30s,
Right.
their mid-30s.
Right.
Like, you might change your mind.
Oh, for sure.
It'll kick in, and you'll be like, oh, shit, I got to have kids.
Yeah.
Now, we have solutions for this, right? And like Korea, for example, leads the world in robotics. There's no country in the world more roboticized than Korea. But I'm thinking about my mom, and I'm thinking about taking care of my mom, and I'm thinking about the things that I was doing, getting her on the toilet, off the toilet, cleaning her up, like the whole thing, right? I'm not sure a robot could do that.
Probably not.
Okay, so there's going to be a lot of jobs where it's like even robots are not going to be able to pull that off.
Yeah.
So we're going to need people.
Mm-hmm.
Is it? Yeah, it's strange that this is not talked about to the degree to which. Now we have AI also. So there's going to be a lot of jobs that, AI is going to take the job. And so that's good, right? That's a beneficial thing. So when birth rates are really, really low, we can, use AI to either power robots or power our minds. And that's cool. So when you hear about all the jobs that AI is going to take away, it's like, well, okay, that's all right. The birth rate's declining around the world, so there's a way in which there's a real benefit to that. Okay? So there's a balance here. But in the meantime, there's a crisis because we have to reorganize for it. Okay, so gentlemen, you got that, right? You have to make sure that you're dealing with that. Do you have a question?
Do we also have to solve the birth rate issue, or can we just
Yeah, dude.
not solve that and someone else will do that?
Yeah, well, you just got to try to convince people to have kids.
Wait, that's
Yeah.
Okay,
I don't know how
great.
you're going to do that.
we got it.
All right, you can do that. All right, Savannah right here. Okay. But for you, one of the problems is for you, it's like this is your personal decision, but you're not seeing how your personal decision is affecting an entire world.
Yeah.
Because for you, it's just your decision, but it's actually affecting everybody in your nation anyway, in your community. That's the cool thing about sociology, right? Sociology teaches us how we're all connected in ways like that. Okay. All right, man. Thanks. I appreciate it. Awesome. Yeah. Thank you. Do you have a question? Wait for Savannah.
Related, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you choose to have kids?
I chose to not have kids.
And why is that?
But that's before the birth rate issue. I would have had kids. I contribute to my nation. You know what I mean?
What stopped you to, if it's not too personal to share?
It's not personal at all. Yeah. I never wanted children. And I think it's because part of it's related to my dad dying, and then I didn't have someone around me he was 9. I was 9 when he died. And I didn't have anyone around to really direct me. And so from a very young age, I learned a certain freedom. You know what I mean? And then when I came up like your age and I started traveling around the world, I'm like, oh, damn, this is pretty cool. And I'm not really ready to have kids. Then when I met my wife, we have okay, this is kind of personal, but this part isn't. She has epilepsy. So, and her epilepsy was really active at the time when we maybe would have had kids. Her epilepsy was very active, and it just meant that we could have some health concerns with her, and we But then it kind of stabilized. But the problem is we have a really, really close, intense relationship. We have a really intense, cool relationship. We start the morning having coffee, talking. We end the day having a beer. We work together. We engage together. It's so intense, and it's cool. And we just didn't want to have a child to disrupt that. So that could seem selfish, and not everybody would want that. Most people won't want a relationship like we have, but it's really cool for us. So we were just no kids, man. Yeah, bro.
I don't know if you'll be able to answer this, but what's a common argument against immigration in replacement of falling birth rates if the same people are usually against like welfare, such as paid maternity leave, which we don't have in this country?
Yeah, like the tax structure, you're building up the economy. You got to who's going to put money into Social Security, right? You're going to have to come to new ways to fund it, the whole 9 yards. Well, one way, I think a big way, is that people just aren't thinking about it. In Korea, they're thinking about it. Korea, they're looking at the entire economy. So we talk to government ministers and stuff, right? It's like they're looking at the entire economy going like, we're going to have to reorganize our entire system, our entire economic system to address this. And that's going to be very complicated.
Do you think it's a problem with like our government not being forward-looking and trying to like be in the moment to retain power?
Dude, man. Problem is these guys over here, they're like
they can't work together.
They're going to be fighting with each other because their individual power is more important than making the best decision. And so all they care about is getting reelected. And so I'm like, dude, I don't give a damn who gets elected. Make a good decision on behalf of the people. So that's one of the problems that we have. Yeah.
So what makes, because Korea is a democracy as well, what makes Korean democracy and Korean politicians different than American politicians? And why can they address this and we can't?
Well, they're not addressing it. They're not, but in part they're not addressing it because it's it's a much bigger issue there than it is here. And they're having a difficult time addressing it. But Korea is a nation of 51 million people, and it's very monocultural. 95% of the people living in Korea have ancestors from Korea. So there's a way in which it's a lot easier to get along. We'll talk about this next Tuesday, actually. It's a much more of a communitarian society. So it's just a little bit easier for them. And in us, it's not. All this fighting and stuff actually gets in the way of this. All right, last question, and then we got to go to the next one. No, wait. Go ahead, bro.
One of the arguments for immigration is that a lot of these immigrants will take jobs that Americans say won't want to do because they're bad jobs. They pay low. They're hard to work for. Do you think one solution would be improving those jobs so more Americans would want to work them,
or
like
paying
increasing
more money.
Wages, better work conditions?
Yep.
You think that would?
One is we increase the minimum wage. But these two knuckleheads over here can't even agree on that. What's our federal minimum wage? It's still $7.50, isn't it? $7.25?
Does more immigrants prevent that from happening because there's more people willing to do the bad jobs, preventing them from becoming better?
There you go. There's another one. So now you got immigrants. These guys could increase the minimum wage maybe if they had to. But you got these guys coming over from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Mexico, from wherever, Chinese, going to South America and then coming up across the border. And these guys are like, okay, we don't have to deal with this So, see, it's all connected, right? Yep, it's all connected. Okay, let's introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Sadna.
Where are you from?
I'm from Virginia.
From Virginia?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, are your parents immigrants?
Yeah.
From where?
India. The south of India.
Okay, all right, awesome. Oh, wait, this is your guys's. No. South of India. Mm-hmm. Where in the south of India?
Like Hyderabad, Telangana. It's
okay. You know what? I just got an email from a young woman in Hyderabad who watches the class, and I was actually going to invite her into class to ask a question. Mm-hmm. She's a high school student.
Oh, fun.
And it just sounded really cool. Okay, let me ask you this. How would you decide how many workers we need? How many who do you think we should let in the country?
I don't know if I have an educated answer for that. I don't really know much about
Well, who do you imagine? Did your parents go to college?
Yeah, both my parents have their masters.
And did they come here with master's degrees?
Yeah, and then my dad got a second one when he was here.
Okay, and so did that help them to get in?
Yeah, because
okay,
they came here on.
Hold the mic close.
They came here on work visas, so they already were set up and stuff.
And then they applied for green cards, and residency, and so on.
Yeah.
Okay, and then you were born here?
Yeah, I was born in Poughkeepsie, New York.
Poughkeepsie. Oh, that's pretty cool. You could always say you were from Poughkeepsie. And people are like, Poughkeepsie, where the hell's that?
It's like not a real place.
Yeah. Kind of like Toledo, Ohio.
Very similar.
Okay, so, but let's imagine you're in control. Who do you want? Who do you want to come in?
I guess people that will contribute like positively to whatever jobs that they might want to do. I don't know, like people that are like I don't know, like I guess if we have like a shortage of a certain type of like worker or job or whatever, then we would want people coming in that would be good at like that job.
So you ever hear of like what do you know about nurses from the Philippines?
That they're like really good at their jobs.
There are a lot of them.
Yeah.
There's like a pipeline of young women from the Philippines in nursing. You heard that?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Huh. How about H-1B visas? What do you know about H-1Bs?
I have a lot of like younger family members, like millennials that are on those right now that have come from India. But I don't really know like specifics or anything. I just kind of hear my parents talking about it.
Okay. And what are they? What kinds of things are they doing?
A lot of like software and like engineering and just like boring computers. I don't know. That's why I don't really know much about it. It's not like.
You ever been to Silicon Valley?
Yeah, I have family in Silicon Valley.
Okay, and when you go around Silicon Valley, what's the majority of people look like me or look like you?
Like me.
Yeah. Are you laughing? Is everyone laughing, by the way? What do you make of that?
I mean, I guess it's not that surprising. Like both my parents are in like IT and stuff, so most of my family is. So yeah, it's not like that surprising. A lot of my like Indian friends are in CS and engineering, and that's just like kind of what I know.
Okay, and are they like smart?
Yeah.
Their families push math and.
Yeah, I can't relate to that. I'm a sociology major, so that's like definitely not my thing. Right. But for like I guess my other family, like pretty much everyone's in STEM except for me and my brother. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
So. Go back to think about the United States and think about computers and software development, Microsoft, Google, AI right now, robot, everything that is the tech revolution in the United States.
Yeah.
Who built that?
I don't really have an answer for that.
Well, who do you think? Go back to Silicon Valley and look around. What do people look like?
There's a lot of Indian people.
Lots of people from outside the U.S.
Yeah, there's a lot of like first and second generation immigrants.
Okay, and H-1B visas, how important do you think they were?
Like pretty important.
Why?
I'm pretty
explain to the class what as best you can, like your relatives who are coming here on H-1Bs. Like, what are they? Explain to them why that's important.
Well, I know an H-1B visa is like a work visa, and I don't know if this is like how it works or if it's just a coincidence with my family, but like they're all in software or engineering or like some type of IT work.
And they're smart.
Yeah, like incredibly smart.
Okay, and the like really smart Indians.
Yes.
And really not so smart Indians, where are they? Are they getting H-1Bs?
No.
Okay.
It's like really hard to get one.
Okay.
From what I've seen.
You got to be talented.
Yeah.
See, this is like the people like say that like people make statements like Mexicans are such hard workers.
Yeah.
And I'm like, no, I've been to Mexico, man. There's a lot of Mexicans that don't work very hard. They're all in Mexico. The hard workers, they come here. The hardest workers, they sneak over the border here. And they gonna work really, really hard because they leverage their lives out in order to make it happen here. Like they might put, for example, when I lived in Ecuador, I would go to these little communities, and there were no men whatsoever, like none, because all the men came to the United States. And so what happened was all the men, they would like get these agents and people with money, and they would put their land or their houses up as collateral. And then like you put your house up for collateral, and let's say it's worth like $10,000. I give you $10,000. If you don't come back, if you don't pay me the $10,000, I keep your house or I keep your land. And so that's your livelihood, man. You got nothing. And right now, your family is back there living on that land. You don't make the money. They're gone. They're landless, they're resourceless, they got nothing. And so what are you going to do when you sneak over the border in the United States? How hard are you going to work to make that $10,000?
Like really hard, I imagine, because I imagine that everyone that comes here is doing it to make a better life for someone that they love, whether that's their like wife or their kids or their parents or their cousins or their siblings or whoever it may be.
And if I tell you, listen, your job is to shovel shit for 10 hours a day. You're going to shovel shit for 10 hours a day, man.
Got to do what you got to do.
You're going to do it. You got okay, H-1Bs. Okay?
Yeah.
Same thing. They're hard to get. They're not going to the dumb people. They're going to wealthy people because businesses pay money for them, right?
Yeah.
And now Donald Trump just raised the price of the H-1B. It used to be like $2,000. When I applied for one for somebody who was working for me, it was $2,000. Now they wanted to raise it to $100,000.
Yeah.
What do you think of that?
I think that's kind of insane because, like, who has $100,000?
What business does?
Well, yeah, but it's just like it's gonna make it even harder than it already is to get those.
But why do you want those? Because people out here are saying like, yeah, but we don't want those workers here. Because they're going to take the job. You got a lot of engineers here. You're in sociology. I'm in sociology. So we don't care, right? Because we're not going to make any money. You're not going to make any money anyway. So you're just going to live off your parents the rest of your life. And then when they die, you'll take what they give to you and you're good, right? So that's what I did, by the way. So, whatever. It's all good. Dude, no, hang on. I'm just joking, You're good. So the issue is they're thinking, well, but they're going to take these engineers and computer science majors. So they're going to your family members who are coming over here on H-1Bs are going to take our jobs.
Yeah. I don't know like specifics, obviously, but I don't know. This might be a little mean to say, but I don't think that companies would be wanting so many people to come here on H-1Bs through their company if they didn't want smarter people than that they have.
Dude,
I don't know.
Dude, oh my God. She said it, right? She said it. Dudes, here, let me show you. Go to the next slide. Take a look at this. Best and worst at math. Look where the U.S. is. We're down near the bottom. You know what I mean? And you know what holds us up? You want to know why we're not at the bottom? You know why we're not like in the purple, right? Like, look here. We're not at the high. We're actually not. We're kind of medium high. But actually, we're in the middle, actually, right? Okay? So here's the thing. You know what holds us up? Why we're as high as we are?
Because of immigrants.
Dude, because of your family. Not from you, by the way, because you're a sociologist. But it's like, well, how are you at math?
God awful.
That's why your parents let you major in sociology,
oh, yeah.
Right?
They knew.
Parents. She'll be a really good sociologist. Just by your answers right now, you're going to be a good sociologist.
Thanks.
Okay. So here's the problem. How do you think Silicon Valley happened? You got a bunch of Americans who don't like math, and not only do you not like math, but you don't have to really work at math. You don't have to go to cram school. You don't have to go. You know what I mean? Like Koreans, we'll talk about this, but in China, Korea, India, you go to school all day long, and then after school, you go to an academy, and you just get more and more crammed into you, more math. You're not good at math, but then you're going to have to go on Saturdays and Sundays and study math, and you just do it again and again and again. And so your scores are really high. That's kind of what it is. But here we don't have that. So we have to rely on immigrants. Immigrants built here. This thing right here, immigrants built that, man. You know what I mean? I get some of you guys, you're here, you do. Some of you are in engineering and comp sci and you're really, really smart, okay? You're really smart. But But everybody else, Sadhana and I, we can go to India and we can pick out the smartest. You got 1.4 billion people in India. Trust me, we will find 10 really brilliant people for every one of you who's really brilliant. We'll find them. Pick out the most brilliant in here, we'll find 10 in India. So we'll bring them over. It's like, that's how it works, man. That's how it works. Silicon Valley got built on the backs of immigrant labor, man. The smartest of the smart. Which means that we poached. Think of how if all these Indians, all these Chinese, all these Koreans, all these people, if they had stayed home and contributed to their own, building their own economy. Like right now, lots of Chinese aren't even coming here because China's in a tech boom right now. And we used to be able to bring all these Chinese workers over, and they're not coming. Or like some of you who are Chinese, bro, are you guys engineering majors? Yep. Wait, hang on. Do you want to stay here or you want to go back to China?
Well, stay here. I was my parents immigrated here and I was born here, so.
Okay, all right, okay. How about you? You want to
Whoever pays me more.
Dude, okay, got it. And in the past, he's gonna be here. He's gonna you want to stay here. You want to go to the U.S. because that's who's gonna pay you more. But that's not true anymore, man. Chinese companies are starting to, they're competing at a new level, y'all. And this H-1B issue, this is the secret weapon of the United States. Yeah, secret weapon. How is that, man?
I don't know. Again, I don't really have any experience with it, personally, because it was. My mom was pregnant with me when they came here on H-1Bs, and I know that they did struggle with visa issues and stuff when I was a lot younger, but it's not really something that they talked about. I guess just not to worry me and my brother, but yeah, there was never any discussion of. Until it was time for green cards and stuff, because I was born here, but my older brother was born in India.
Yep.
And so when it came time for green cards and stuff, that was a huge discussion, just because there was a lot that he needed to do.
Yep.
But other than that, I don't really know much about.
But your parents have that tech background. That's how how they got here.
Both of them have masters in I think computer science. Yeah, something like that. And then my dad got a second master's in something CS related when I was 4.
Okay, so me, by contrast, I have 3 degrees in sociology. I am doing nothing to increase the GDP of the United States, man. I can't build anything tech-wise. There's nothing I can do to increase the GDP. All I'm doing is yammering away in this classroom. But all of this that we've built here, everything, all this wireless technology that we're using, your phone, my phones, I'm connected all over, that's all built by tech people. And those are tech people from all over the world. Some of them are Americans, that's for sure, but tech people from all over the world, man. So.
Yeah, my parents don't build things, but they both work for big mortgage companies. One of them works for Freddie Mac and one of them works for Fannie Mae.
Yep. So they're doing all that background tech stuff.
Yeah, I don't really get it, but I mean
dude, I don't get it either. But whatever. More power to you. I feel better. The fact that you don't get it, I feel better because I don't get it.
Yeah.
Hey, so here's another issue. Can you go just back one? We go back to that slide. The other issue with the economy is, okay, so let's say, it's too many immigrants. We gotta we have to patrol everything. Whether we're gonna build a fence, or we gotta hire ICE, or we gotta hire La Migra, or we gotta hire people. It costs a lot of money, man. How much do you think these folks are? It's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't remember the exact number, but I remember seeing an article that a bunch of ICE agents got huge bonuses and stuff, which I imagine is. And collectively a lot of money.
Well, yeah, because you're not going to be able to get people to do. First off, there's a lot of communities in the United States that are really struggling. here, I got one for you. I think it's Ford. Yeah, they just closed down a plant that makes batteries for F-150 trucks. And because our government decided we're not going to invest in battery-powered automobiles, right? We're not doing that. Okay, well, all those people need jobs, man. They were making between $35 and $40 an hour. So well, ICE is hiring. So you go work for ICE. This is a thing, right? By the way, you know who was on an H-1B? I'm quite sure.
Who?
Melania Trump. She's not in tech.
Yeah, it was something about her modeling career. I don't know exactly what type, but it was a work visa.
So some people figured out how to get H-1B. You have to be in technology. You have to be in an area of the economy that's in great need. Like, this is how H-1Bs work, right? So if we needed sociologists, then we would go like, hey, we got these H-1Bs. We're going to bring sociologists over from somewhere. And so we high tech. We want the smartest tech people we can possibly get. But I'm quite sure that Melania got an H-1B. We didn't have enough models here.
Yeah, I don't know specifics about that, but I know that they call the one that she was on like an Einstein visa, and it's just like, I'm pretty sure if you're like in any field and you're just like really good at what you do.
Yeah. Really good at what you do. Yep.
Yeah, again, I don't know specifics, so I can't really.
No, that's good. You said Trump people you're gonna come after me. I'm just making a joke. It's all right. It's all good. Like, it's good, right? Obviously. All right. So, okay, well, there we go. It's complicated, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very complicated.
So we want unskilled workers who are going to be willing to do things that other people don't want to do. And you can say, hey, man, you're going to have to go out and pick onions. Like, you don't want to pick onions? That's the only job available to you. Go pick the effing onions, right? And this is what happens. So it's the farmers are like, yeah, okay, we'll pay you to pick onions. We'll even triple your wages. We'll pay you like $20. And there are so many examples of that. And Americans are still like, onions. I'll eat onions. Wait, you want me to pick onions? And the issue is that if you're living in a place where you grow up, it's not because people are lazy. It's because when you live in a place where you grow up, you always have someone who can take care of you somehow. You have family. I can go live with my grandmother. I don't have a job, but I can live with my grandmother. I'm not going to go pick onions in the hot sun in Florida. Are you kidding me? So you're going to do something to get by, and it's easier to get by, right? I made a joke about you living with your parents, okay? Which is that. Is that okay? You're not.
No, I think that's really funny. I joke about it all the time too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Mom and Dad. She's got you. All right. But you can do that. Mm-hmm. If you graduate and the only job you can get is go pick blueberries, or go work in the mushroom caves down in Southeast Philly, mm-hmm. You're not going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to, but even if it was the only job you could get, you're going to stay home and watch HBO, or you're going to go do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably want to stay home and hang out with my mom.
Yep, but you wouldn't do that if you were up here without papers. And you're like, shit, I got to survive.
Yeah, I mean, I have the privilege of saying that I would, stay home with my mom because I don't have to worry about that if it did come to it. Obviously that's not the goal, but I mean, I don't have to worry about what's going to happen to me and my family if I can't get a job.
Yeah, that's it, man. Yeah, it's great. Do we have any questions? Got a couple questions from the stream.
I also have a question.
Who has a question? Oh yeah, Layla.
On this next slide, how come Africa and some Middle Eastern countries are grayed out?
Because we just don't have data for them on this particular test.
Okay, got you.
Yeah. Saudi's up there, though. You're purple, too. Dude, wait. Saudis, what's up with that? You're purple, man. I thought y'all were engineers and stuff.
Sam, So let me get this straight. We want to increase unskilled labor without lowering the wages of Americans, but also while decreasing the cost of construction. And simultaneously, we want to import skilled labor also without lowering U.S. wages. We want to
Well, I don't know that we want to do that, but that's on the table. I don't know.
Okay.
See, the beauty of all of this, by the way, is that I'm not smart enough to have to make these decisions. So I don't have to make them. You guys do now. So, like, I don't know. Okay, Chewbacca says, how much does climate change impact your thoughts around immigration and resource management? How about that? This actually goes to Savannah. Wait. How about that? Savannah, go back to what we were talking about with birth rates. Think about climate change.
I guess, like, if in certain areas, if the climate's not, like, survivable and, like, people aren't able to survive in the conditions that they're given, then they're going to need to immigrate to places where they're able to withhold a good house and a good family in order to have kids.
To survive. And the birth rates are dropping, but that's good for climate change, maybe, right? I mean, obviously, because we're putting more CO2 in the air and stuff. Yeah, okay, that's fair. Anyway, do you have a response to that?
No, I don't really know enough about, like, climate change to answer that question.
Okay, all right. Except it's coming. Climate, it's like AI, man. Y'all, right? We might be sociologists, but there's one thing I know for certain. AI is coming, and it's going to really turn things inside out. And climate change is happening, and it's also going to turn things inside out. Yeah, bro.
So going back to the discussion about the H-1B increasing the petition, how much you have to pay for the petition. So there was actually a clarification on that where immigrants from outside of the country, when initially applying for the petition, the companies have to pay $100,000 for them. However, if it's a change of status, so this is people already in the US, they would not have to pay the $100,000. So could you share your thoughts on that?
No, well, my thoughts on that, I think I remember that now. My thoughts on that is the White House, or the politicians in Washington, they started getting pushback from business people going like, dude, are you nuts? You know what I mean? Do you know how much these visas keep this economy going, right? So that's that.
And I do want to add, that correction, that amendment was made within like 24 to 48 hours of the initial.
Well, listen, man, for all you Trump dislikers out there, I'm not going to say haters, the Trump dislikers, the cool thing about Trump is he keeps shining your toes, man. He just speaks from the hip, like boom, boom, boom. So like, so he just made that, they just said that and made that statement. I'm like, dude, you obviously didn't think about that very long. Because, all right. Wait, hang on. Do we have another question up here? Wait, bro, hang on. Is it about H-1B? No, it's about the climate change one. All right, wait. All right. Trav said, how much will AI impact the conversation around immigration jobs? Hugely, just like birth. AI is a huge issue, robotics, AI, etc. Because AI is about two things. It's about reproducing. It's artificial intelligence. It's reproducing our brains, and it's reproducing our bodies. So it's people who are able to code robots and make robots reproduce our bodies. So I can have a robot that I can, easily, like I could easily reach down and take that name tag off of your shirt. A robot do that. So we get better at programming them. So that's what AI is. If citizens are already losing jobs, how can we immigrate people in without further damage? Well, this is the problem. It's a very complex thing. And you hear what Trav just said? That his comment's really important for the two of you, what he wrote. Because if we're already losing jobs, if the job market is being disrupted, then we also need to be thinking about, do we raise the number of immigrants? Do we decrease the number of immigrants? We're doing the whole thing, man. This is why it's complicated. And why it's it's constantly changing in every given moment, man. You can't just make some random policy.
I think the problem with like AI and jobs and immigration, it's not immigration that should be the issue. It should be the AI. Like I think that's a huge problem that our like government needs to really figure out. Like obviously that's really complicated because it's still it's evolving every day, and it's I don't know, like again, like I don't know that much about AI, but I know that like I think if AI is taking our jobs, then I don't think we should be decreasing the number of people that need the jobs. I think we should be stopping AI from taking our jobs.
It's going to create jobs. So you got to find this balance.
Yeah.
We're in a very dynamic
I guess
world.
it is also like a two-sided thing, because it's like, okay, what jobs are AI taking? It's like coding jobs, but then who's making the AI? It's people that I don't know. I think there's a lot of like, because I know a lot of people like my dad, but then also like people my age that are getting like AI certificates and like learning how to work with that and learning how to make like artificial intelligence. Like there's people that I know from back home that work with like AI and stuff, and it's like I don't know. I think there's just a lot of different factors that I'm not really too sure on.
Yeah, but that's good. But you're thinking out loud.
But it is a conversation that needs to be had.
Dude, it's awesome. You guys got that?
So our immigration policy also needs to solve climate change and determine how AI impacts the job market.
Yeah, make sure you guys take account of that, all right? Yeah, all right. Okay, hey, can we have a round of applause for Suddenly? Thank you. Oh man, that's awesome. Dude, Trav's question is so good. Hey, what do you think? Oh, quick, introduce yourself first off.
Hi, my name is Millie. I was born and raised in Detroit and then moved to Bucks County, PA like 3 years ago, and I'm a secondary education major, minoring in social justice.
Social justice?
Yeah.
Would that include like people who lose their jobs to AI?
I mean, I'm working social justice in education, so not really, but I mean.
Well, you might want to include that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
You guys, you're going to expand the definition of social justice. Mm-hmm. Hey, how about, can you go to the next slide? So I want to, dude, this is so much fun for me. Do I look like I'm having fun? Wait, we're going to go to the one after the math scores. Yeah. Citizenship, right? Hey, why do you think we have birth certificates and just birth certificates? Like, why do you think that's important?
To prove that you were born in this country.
And why is that important? Imagine you're the king of the world. Mm-hmm. You're the king of the U.S.
Yeah.
Why is that important for you? Hold the mic.
So we know where people are from originally, like born. I feel like it's important to know people's origination, like country of origin.
How about just the number of people?
Yeah, that too, essentially.
And you want to know where they're living.
Yeah.
And how about decisions about voting?
Like, what do you mean?
Well, like we have a system that's based on voting.
Yeah.
And so you want to know like who can participate?
Who's eligible?
Okay, so you want to know that?
Yeah.
What else?
I guess, I don't know, like, I guess just know the general population, know how many people are being born every year, like, with that comes Social Security, like, you're giving people a number, you're identifying who's an American citizen, or who's a citizen legally, and then, like, tallying that up, basically, it goes into, like, the census and everything, like, you're getting a general vibe of, like, who's born where.
Yep, awesome. And if people are on H-1Bs or they have green cards or whatever, and then you want to know who you're going to allow when people leave the United States, you need to know who they are.
Yeah, exactly.
And other countries need to know who they are.
Yeah.
And then when they want to come back to the United States,
we need to know who they are. Like, we're letting back in who we let go out.
People who come here.
Yeah.
We need to know we're making decisions about health care.
Yeah.
We're collecting taxes.
Yeah.
We have an entire economy that's based on what you just said, the number of people.
Yeah.
Everything is based on that. Our entire tax system. So we can predict how much money we're going to have in tax revenue like 2 years from now, 3 years from now. Because we know who's here.
Well, I mean, in the sense of immigration, we don't really know the full population, but we have a pretty good idea based on like legal American citizens.
Okay. How about people enrolled in school? You want to know like who can and can't be enrolled in school?
I feel like everyone should have the opportunity to have education, so
oh yeah, you're an educator.
Anyone. Yeah.
Okay, so that's important for you.
Yeah.
Social welfare? Who deserves welfare?
Yeah. I don't think, well, it's hard to discuss because it's like, yes, it like legality reasons, like being a legal citizen, you deserve welfare, but I think also people who are not making above a certain amount of money should also be included in that if they're living in the United States.
Okay, and how about someone who comes over the border illegally?
Okay.
And they need and they hurt their foot on the way over, and they show up at the hospital and they're like, listen, I broke my foot jumping into the Rio Grande, to the river, crossing over, and now I need an operation on my foot. Can you guys like take care of that for me?
Realistic, okay, well this is obviously hypothetical because I don't think any illegal immigrant is going to willingly admit that they illegally came across the border.
You know, you got hospitals who don't ask.
Do I think they deserve the health care? Of course.
Well, but wait, across the board? Because what if suddenly millions of people are lining up for medical procedures that taxpayers got to pay for?
Yeah, but in our country, our health care isn't free. Like, it's not covered. A majority have to have insurance.
Yeah, but people don't have insurance. So you got people who are uninsured, and they suddenly show up. And you know, it's a problem, right?
Yeah.
We invest money into our healthcare system. We invest a certain amount, and suddenly we have to. All these people are using it in a different way. It's like, oh shit, we can't afford that, and like.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but it's like putting a very large generalization on people. Like, I feel like if we place that label saying that the second we make healthcare available to all, like people will just be like illegal immigrants will be rushing in. I feel like that's like such a generalization that's not necessarily true.
Yeah, it's not true in a large scale.
Yeah.
But in a very small scale.
It could happen.
And so most people don't. I mean, really, when you don't have documentation, let me just say this for the sake of everyone.
Yeah.
When you don't have documentation, it's not easy. You don't have access to very many services, which is a problem for somebody like you who's leans more humanitarian.
Yeah.
So you got these people who have problems and they can't use the services.
Yeah.
Like let's say they have kids and they can't enroll their kids in school.
Yeah.
That's a problem for you.
100%.
Because
everyone deserves a chance. Like, everyone deserves it, I feel like, if you're going to come in.
What if it wasn't just deserve? What if it's like, do you want a bunch of children around who are illiterate, or do you want kids around who are educated?
Educated, of course.
Who are good at math in particular.
Yeah,
right?
I think.
By the way, they're not born in the United States, so maybe it's more likely they'll be good at math.
Exactly. I feel like a lot of the times, some of the most talented students, some of the most hardworking people, like you said, like, are immigrants, and they are just not given a chance. Like, there's so many, like, without that development, without that education, I feel like we're limiting the knowledge. Like, we have future geniuses that we wouldn't even know about that could be illegal immigrants.
Okay, but I want you to don't stay with that liberal perspective.
Okay.
Stay with the very practical one. It's like, we need people. Look, first off, you're likely a bunch of you are going to stay here, or even you're going to go back home. You need to be educated, man. You need to we need to build the world up to be better than what it is. So it's
of course.
So we want to know who's here, and then if you're not here, we want to be able to track you. So one of the things that I said last class, I don't know if you remember, but back when I was studying illegal immigration, when I was the age of your parents when they came here, by the way, in my early 20s. There was like 9 to 11 million people who we thought were undocumented. And today it's, 13 to 14 million. which is interesting. Like, what happened in the meantime that suddenly this is such a major issue? Because we're also, the population of the United States back then was 250 million, and now it's 340 million. So percentage-wise, there are fewer undocumented immigrants here in the United States today than there were 40 years ago, okay, as a percentage of the population. And the problem is, this whole time is, you gotta know who people are. If you're in charge, you gotta know who's who and who's what. And like, you wanna know that.
Yeah, of course.
Because you can build a better society.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
I think in order to be able to build a better society and know who those people are, maybe making the legalization process not as difficult. It's like takes years to become legal in this country, and I feel like making it that inaccessible is a big reason why we don't know who a lot of these illegal immigrants are.
Okay, yeah, I mean, this is an issue, right? Which is why right now it's very difficult for ICE to find people, right? They set this number at like 3,000 people a day. I'm like, dude, you can't even get 3,000 people a day. You got 13 to 14 million people. Good luck with that. You know, like what are you going to do? Like, this becomes very, very complicated. Mm-hmm. And so people aren't just going to show up. You know, it's a very difficult situation, and but luckily my job isn't to solve it. How about like even work permits and stuff, right?
Like obtaining work permits?
Yeah. Knowing that when you hire an electrician, mm-hmm. your electrician actually knows what the hell she or he is doing.
I feel like a lot of the training for that is very much on the job. Like, you learn as you go.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in terms of immigrants being electricians?
Well, yeah, but whatever it is. But I'm thinking about citizenship, right?
Citizenship.
So I'm thinking about the most important parts of having like a birth certificate, a passport, like all these things, so you're eligible to do the things that we want you to do. Like, we want you to get training as a teacher.
Of course, but I don't necessarily think that means that I have to have a birth certificate. Like, I feel like that's putting a lot of value on a piece of paper.
Maybe.
I mean, it's very valuable, but at the same time, like, in order for me to, I don't think like you have to have a birth certificate to become something greater than what you are right now.
I'm with you on that. But you just, as if you're the one running the show, for example, like these guys are going to be doing over here, you just want to make sure, you just want to know who's what and where they are and how they are, and yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you have a question from the stream, by the way? Bro, hang on one second, all right? And then we're going to do the quiz, and then we're going to... Hey, by the way, can we give a round of applause for Millie? Good, nice. You guys, you were all great, by the way. You were great, too. Yeah, nice job. Do we have a question? Per asks, advancement in technology seem to be reducing the number of available jobs in the U.S. Could a reduction in birth rate and population actually be a good thing? Yeah, definitely. Definitely, right? This is one of my arguments in Korea, for example. Okay, bro, we'll just wait. Do you have just wait, yeah. All right. Hey, thanks, by the way, this is really interesting to me. It's really interesting. You all are like just giving some awesome stuff. It's really fascinating. And I hope you're all, you can put it up. I hope you're all seeing that. Yeah, I hope you're all very confused. Are you confused?
Yeah.
All right, good.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you have your phone, by the way? Yeah. I want you to be confused.